Okay, my name is Ernie Gromlich. No one calls me Ernest, except my mother. She passed away. So I'm Ernie Gromlich. I graduated from West Scranton High School in 1952. Wanted to go to college, but parents didn't have any money. So I joined the service, spent 4 years in the Navy, got the GI Bill, and enrolled at East Stroudsburg in 1956. I always wanted to play football, and I wanted to coach and teach, so I started out in Phys Ed and found out that there were more openings in other areas. I always liked math and science, so after one semester I switched from Phys Ed and got a major in math and science. I taught in New Jersey, my first job, because New Jersey was paying more money than Pennsylvania back in 1960. I taught in Vanderbilt and Middlesex. Then, I met my wife there, Shirley Gromlich, and we got married 2 weeks after we graduated because we promised her father we wouldn't get married before we graduated. Pardon me. So I was at East Stroudsburg from 56 through, I went to 3 summer sessions, so I graduated in January of 60. Really, I graduated from East Stroudsburg State Teachers College. They then changed the name to East Stroudsburg State College right after I graduated. So I was one of the last graduates of East Stroudsburg State Teachers College. I played freshman football and was injured. And another thing, vets had to live off campus when I started, so I lived in the Fenner Hotel down in East Stroudsburg. I hurt my ankle pretty badly in a scrimmage, and I was walking gingerly from my hotel to a restaurant, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to go back to play football, but I was stopped by Dr. Jim Reed, and he convinced me to come back because they needed a few more people on the JV team. So if it wasn't for Jim Reed, I probably wouldn't have gone back to play football. So he was one of the people that inspired me. A few others, particularly Dr. Kohler at the time, I don't think he was president. I was on the student council and he was our advisor. Over the holidays, over the Christmas holidays, this would have been 1956, my father passed away. I was the only one here. My brothers and sisters were spread all over the country. So I thought I might have to withdraw from school and help take care of my mother. I called Dr. Taylor and told him that I was thinking about withdrawing. And he said, Ernest, now, back in '56, when you went home at Christmas, you still had a few weeks of class. We had to go back. We had a couple of weeks of class. And then we had our finals, and then we started the second semester. He convinced me at least to come back and finish out the first semester. If it wasn't for Dr. Taylor, I probably would have, quit and pursued some other options. He was also instrumental in my life a little later on, and I'll get to that then. I had an awful lot of good people in my life at East Stroudsburg. I played football varsity, 57, 58, and 59. I had the honor of being on one of the first teams that Coach Jack Gregory coached, and I loved the man. He was a great person. We had some success. We had some downtime. Some of the interesting things that happened in my career, some were good and some were bad. I tried out for the JV basketball team after I finished my football. I was about a week or two late, and that didn't work out too good. I got cut because of numerous reasons. That made me a little angry, and I decided I might as well put all my efforts and play one sport. So I dedicated myself to playing football. A lot of the places that we spent time, one was a little tea house across the street named Rosie's. That was easily accessible. So, during the week or during classes, we spent some time there. There were other places that we went to on weekends. We went across the river to Kittatinny Beach. I also went down to a nice restaurant named Albino's. And my sophomore year, I got a job at I went to summer school for 3 summers, as I said before. I got a job at Laguerre's Pizza Parlor. And every time I went back for football practice, I gained an extra 5 pounds, and Jack Gregory told me if I didn't lose weight, he was going to make me a tackle, and I certainly didn't want that to happen. Some of the things that happened when we were there was homecoming. We had a lot of dances. Valentine's was a big dance. Now, my second year is when I met my wife a long time before that. I met her my freshman year, but we finally started dating. So we went to dances, and a lot of people don't realize, because this was about 100 years ago, that the girls had to be in at 10 o'clock. so that didn't give us much time to get in trouble. So Shirley and I, we worked in the cafeteria to get extra money, and then we would go to the library, because the library closed at 9. So then we had a little time to spend together from 9 to 10. And that's usually when we went over to Rosie. I have an awful lot of fond memories. A lot of good people. A lot of good instructors, which gave me an opportunity to graduate. And eventually, my wife and I taught. I taught for 32 years. She taught for 26. Homecoming was a big thing back then. We had a bonfire, and as I said, the dances. The things that I enjoyed the most was playing football. In the summertime and in the wintertime, I played on some local athletic teams in the YMCA, and we had a traveling basketball team called Ritter's Raiders. I met an awful lot of good people there. One of the things that the girls, their freshman year, they lived in an old hotel called the Indian Queen, and the vets were encouraged to live in the Fenner Hotel. That was the first semester. I felt so disjointed because I couldn't get to see Shirley as often as I wanted. And so I decided I wanted to move on campus, and that was a good move. I didn't enjoy living in the Fenner Hotel. I enjoyed college life, dorm life. I had two good roommates, Ed Heimbaugh and Jim Hendrickson. My wife lived in Oaks Hall. There you had to go in, sign in, tell them who you wanted to meet, and that was a pain in the neck. So I used to stand outside the dorm and whistle, and it was a distinctive whistle. So every once in a while I would hear somebody say, "Shirley, Ernie's outside," and then I didn't have to go in and sign out. One of the things that a lot of people try to discourage is having a male or female friend while you're in college. They say it takes away from your education. Well, Shirley was a good student, so we worked in the cafeteria, as I said before. Then we would go to the library from 7 to 9 and study, and then we would go over to Rosie's from 9 to 10. For me, it was a very positive, and she was a good influence on me. When I was in school in Scranton, I had no idea that I wanted to go to college. Well, I did, but my parents didn't have any money. So I graduated June 13th, and 2 weeks later, I was on my way to Great Lakes, Illinois at boot camp. I almost stayed in the service, but I found out that I had the GI Bill. I got $110 a month, and believe it or not, that almost paid for my education back in 1956 through 60. I certainly am happy that I did get out of the service and go to college and get my education. Because, as I said, I taught for 32 years. In those 32 years, I coached numerous sports, and I was also a PIA official in 5 different sports. So one thing that stands in my mind, I said one time to I have 7 granddaughters, and to my one granddaughter, Sarah, I almost stayed in the service. And she said, Pop, if you stayed in the service, I wouldn't be here. And that kind of brought a little tear to my eyes, because I have 9 grandchildren, three lovely children, and everything worked out as the Lord planned. Football was everything. That's all I did. And then by going to this legacy luncheon, I found out that East Stroudsburg is not just football. It's so many. It's grown so much. And I thought, they gave me a good job. They gave Shirley a good job, Ellen, and I needed to give something back to the institution. So that's why I joined the Alumni Association.